What's going on, guys? So I am out here at ROA Off Road. I am at their experience center just south of Salt Lake City, Utah, and we're gonna go by and look at all of these really amazing super off-road capable towable trailers. Some of them extremely lightweight, some of them a little bit heavier than others, but we're gonna walk by them all and give you a quick overview of what is to come. Basically, we're gonna stand next to each brand, talk about the brand, where they're manufactured, some of the engineering perks, and then we're gonna have follow-up videos on every one of these so you can specifically see the floor plan, the features, the build, as well as all the relevant information you might need to make if you were gonna look at getting into a super off-road capable RV and you wanna have an informed purchasing decision.
Okay, what we have in front of us here is the Scout truck campers. We primarily are a travel trailer or, off-road trailer dealer. That's mostly what we deal with. But we wanted to kind of diversify, and lots of people reach out to us asking us about truck campers, and so we kind of looked around the whole market and found these guys. These guys originally are a Canadian company. They're now based out of Washington State. Really cool. They carry 3 different models, but they're very minimalistic, and they're not too expensive, which is nice to have that option. But yeah, Scout, awesome company.
Very cool.
Speaking of Canada, once again, we were out looking and hunting for more of that teardrop style trailer because we didn't really have one, and we wanted to be able to offer that. Once again, I mentioned that our guys are coaches, right? So a lot of people call in and they say, this is what I want, this is what I need, and it's like, well, we don't have that as an option. So that's kind of the reasons why we reached out to Off-Grid Trailers, and they're typically a manufacturer direct to consumer. We're their only experience center. We don't consider ourselves really a dealer, and that's why they synced up with us, is because they didn't feel like we were a standard dealer. But yeah, they have 3 different models. This is their most popular model. And they're pretty light, so they're towable by a lot of mid-sized vehicles. You don't need a full-size truck to tow these. All 100% steel too.
And I've actually spent some time looking at these Canadian manufactured units. Canadians build some pretty awesome RVs.
Yeah, they do. They do. They really care about the quality and the precision. And as far as teardrops go, I would say this is one of the best in class. There's really nothing else out there. There's a lot of small mom and pop shops that are building these, but they've really dialed it in, and the guy that runs it, he understands manufacturing at a high level, and that really, they're not a huge manufacturer, but it allows them to just streamline things and do very well.
Focus on quality.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Now we're coming down to Texas.
Yes, Texas, down in Houston, your neck of the woods.
Yes, sir.
Think, right? So this is the Tiger Moth. Obviously, they carry a few different lineups. Taxa. The founder originally worked for NASA, and so it's really cool. It's because very functional, right? He kind of really goes into like the space. They don't call themselves trailers; they're habitats, and the idea about Taxa Outdoors is everything's better outdoors. So they really try to bring the inside, outside, inside type of thing. It's kind of like their motto and what they do. Really cool company though, and very light trailers. And these are some of our, I would say, more on the affordable side for an off-road trailer. A lot of off-road trailers, one of the biggest complaints people have is the pricing, but it's typically there's a lot of quality and a lot of expensive components that go into it. Taxa's done a good job to keep the pricing more affordable. So and they have of course the Cricket and the Mantis. I would say the Mantis is probably the most popular. It's great for families because you can sleep 4 or even 6 people in there, and if you get there's a tent option, you could even sleep more than that. So.
Yeah, I believe actually one of the folks at eTrailer owns a Mantis.
Okay. We
went and reviewed that while I was out there in St. Louis.
It's awesome.
All right, now we're moving to the Outback.
Oh yes, this is Patriot Campers out of Australia. This company is like superb in quality. I know we're gonna do more tours. they're like the perfect example of users. The owner and his family, I mean, you can go, they have a YouTube channel, right? You go check them out. They're doing some of the craziest, you know, stuff with these trailers, truly testing them and pushing them to their limits. They got a lot of cool, exciting, they're very innovative, a very innovative company. I believe there's all the campers out there on the market are kind of copycats. Like these style trailers are kind of copycats from Patriot.
Got it.
Some of the newer ones that you know on the market are kind of, you know, they're
based off of these. Yeah,
Patriots has inspired, you know, all of the tent trailer campers that you see on the market.
Well, another very popular brand in the RV industry for components is Red Arc. Also out of Australia, and I had a chance to meet with the Red Arc representative in St. Louis a few months ago, and I asked him, what's your favorite Australian camper? And he goes, you know, there's a lot of good ones, but I'd have to say Patriot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and Patriot is truly a camper, right? Like this is an adventure vehicle. This is something that you're going to take out to remote places, get you anywhere, and really off the beaten path. You can tow it with a Jeep. You can go check out, you know, Overland X or Trail Recon. Those guys are like they're doing global adventures, going down to Mexico all the time with these trailers, and they're getting them into places essentially where your Jeep will go. This thing will kind of track behind it, which is really cool. So
very cool. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's go. Let's maybe start back over there and work our way up.
Sure.
So we're standing in front of the OBI, which stands for Outback Innovations. Now this is an import, so these trailers are made in China, manufactured in China, but it's owned and operated by an American company. So very similar to the Black Series. The only difference is the quality and attention to detail on these is much better, right? The owner he studied in Indiana for manufacturing, worked in the RV industry in America. He went and moved out to Australia, saw how Australia was doing it, and was like, man, we need to do this. And he synced up with a manufacturer overseas and started building and importing these to the US. Definitely for an off-road, off-grid trailer, these are very superb. Also, they're hybrids. They're all tops, so a little bit lighter, a little bit, you know, smaller. They pop into, like the back sides of them slide in. The beds inside of these are actually king size beds, so because they open up, and so like the actual floor space is pretty large, surprisingly, but when it all closes up, they're relatively short and easy and to get off-road and very agile.
Very cool. Let's move on. Okay, so now that we're looking at another OBI camper, I wanted to make a comment. Something you said a second ago was they're manufactured offshore overseas, Chinese manufactured but American owned company, but then you made a follow-up comment to that saying that they're like Black Series but a much higher attention to detail, fit and finish quality. What did you mean by that?
I mean, that could be a very long video, but the attention to details, the materials, and the components in them are a lot better. The Black Series in 2019, we started with them back in 18, and in 2019 they had a pretty good product, and they started transitioning to using a lot of no-name brand components that, you know, weren't very reputable. You know, lots of like furnaces and refrigerators, everything was kind of like no-name brand. The cabinetry, the materials for the actual walls. So it's the putting together, the process of the building of them is at a higher level on these, but also all the components they use are just better.
So it's kind of like the equivalent. I'm going to try to come up with a really weird comparison. There's a lot of high-end electronics, like smartphones, that are made in China. And there's a big difference between a low-end Chinese-built smartphone versus like an iPhone or a higher-end phone that may also be built there.
You know, and that was one of the reasons why we kind of moved beyond carrying them, is because a lot of the components that were coming in them, we couldn't even service them, right? They were unserviceable because there was no manuals, there were no support. You know, the heater was this Chinese, and it only had Chinese writing on it. We couldn't even, like, you know, this carries the Truma, which is a German company. Right, very reputable, considered one of the best out there. The air conditioning is actually under mounted bunk, which is an Australian company, the 9000. So you're just dealing with Dometic, just better overall components and then also just the detail to quality. When we do a full tour, you'll see like just the cabinetry. It's a solid wood.
Yeah.
Black Series used the honeycomb, which had issues with delamination. You know, as they got hot, they would fall apart. So unfortunately.
And honestly, you guys are still saying that even though you've sold a ton of Black Series. So you have a lot of customers with it, and you're still servicing them because there's a Black Series right there, right behind this camper. So you guys still fully support the brand that you carried, right?
Oh, for everybody that bought one from us, yes, 100%. If you bought a Black Series from us, they're in here, they're getting serviced. Usually they're unfortunately getting serviced. We're fixing the cabinetry because it's breaking or delaminating, and a lot of times, you know, the furnaces are going out and we're putting in better furnaces. So we're 100% supporting and servicing anybody that ever bought one from us. We're just not recommending the new units that are being produced.
Fair enough. And that's not any bias really, because the fact is you guys are still selling products that are still manufactured overseas, but you're picking the ones that are manufactured with an attention to quality and detail.
Well, it's like the iPhone. It's like you said, you know, it's manufactured overseas. To me, what's super important is that it's American owned and operated, that they're overseeing the process of manufacturing.
Yep. And a lot of people don't know, because I've told him I'm big into mountain biking. Almost every mountain bike frame is manufactured overseas.
Yeah.
Even though the companies may be owned here in the US, and the quality control, the engineering, the specs, how it needs to meet a certain level of quality and craftsmanship is managed here in the US.
Yeah.
Just for certain cost and financial reasons, they choose to do it overseas because they can put out a product that may actually be affordable, put out a product that you can actually buy. Because when we get to some American-made products, everyone's budget is different, but you're probably going to see a little difference in terms of how much things cost when you bring all the manufacturing in the States.
Oh, for sure.
Let's move on.
Okay, we're standing in front of the Conquerors. This company has actually been around for just over 30 years. Started out of South Africa. They actually built for the military, and then they moved into the civilian sector and started making off-road trailers. But their motto is military tough, and these things are very, very robust. I'm really huge fan of these, and they have 4 different models. They have the UEV, which stands for Urban Escape Vehicle, and they have the 440, the 490, the UEV 14, and the UEV 19. And these ones are more like canvas pop-outs, and we'll show you more tours. This one is the hybrid, so you have, you know, 75% wall and the pop-up. And then you have the UEV 19, and that's a full solid wall construction, floor to ceiling.
So would you say this is South Africa's response to Australia's Patriot?
Yeah, well, yes and no, but these existed before Patriot. So some people will tell you, you know, these kind of inspired a lot of the off-road stuff in Australia, believe it or not. It just depends on who you talk to.
Those are fighting words, man. Yeah. I'm going to see the comment section light up on that one.
It depends on who you talk to. The Conqueror's been around longer than almost any off-road manufacturer producer. Patriot's just over 10 years, right? Bruder might be going on 10 years, which is a very iconic Australian. But these guys are all going on 30 years.
I want to tell you though, this looks badass.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this really looks cool. When I say looks cool, I mean, you don't see doors like this on RVs. You don't see this kind of stuff, and we're going to dive into a lot more detail when we walk around this, but I just had to point that out. And by the way, it's cold out here. That's all frost, so it's not any type of a weird surface. I guess it is a surface layer of frost, but yeah, it's not anything bad going on.
It's weird if it was in Texas.
It would be very weird. Well, you know, these last few years we've had some pretty crazy weather, so not too weird in certain parts, but man, these are beautiful.
Yeah, these are very, very nice, and we'll get into the full tours on these. One of the things I do want to mention is, and we'll get more into the full tours, but almost all of these are independent suspension, which is very, very different from the standard
leaf sprung,
in America with leaf springs and solid axles. It just creates a tremendously better ride than what you're going to get on a standard trailer in America.
Now, on a lot of these, I know you said independent, and we'll talk about some of these other trailers, but do you do a lot of torsion axles here, or most of these actual coil sprung with shocks?
Yeah, they're all like an A-arm with a coil and a gas shock.
Yep,
that's
and
like the most common.
And I bring that up because I know there are brands that people are seeing out of Indiana that have what they call independent suspension. It's a torsion style suspension. I'm sure you're extremely familiar with it, but that is an entirely different realm of suspension than what you're seeing here. That suspension is an improvement over leaf sprung suspension to a degree, but the suspension you're going to see on these trailers when we do full deep dive tours of them are going to just completely blow you away, because it's an entirely different level of suspension you're going to get on something out here versus, you know, something that has a torsion style suspension.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's, to me, it's the difference towing one of these trailers. It's the difference between driving a Cadillac and driving an old 80s truck, you know, that had all solid axles and, you know, leaf springs. Like when you hit a bump, your whole body is jarred. You get in a Cadillac, where you hit a bump, the suspension is what's, you know, moving, not your body. And so for like actual off-road purposes, that's what you want, right? You want to be able to hit a washboard road, you know, going 40 miles per hour and have the trailer not just jarring and falling apart. You know, you want to, and even on road, it actually is going to be superior long term, right?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so what do we have in front of us here?
So right here, this is an American company, which we are really excited about. This is a company that's out of Wisconsin. They're Imperial Outdoors, and this is actually their last year model. There are some 2023s that have been built, but they've essentially discontinued this one, but there's still a lot in the market, so I wanted to show it off. And we're getting a lot of trade-ins because of their new models that they just released for 2023, which we'll get to over here in just a second. So these guys, they started out as making fish houses, right? And so the whole design behind these is they're made to go to 40 below zero, because he goes up, sits on the ice, you know, lake, and fishes in 40 below zero in Wisconsin on the Canadian border, right? So walls, roofs, they're anywhere from the roof on this is 6.5 inches thick. Wow. It's massive, right? We actually put a hot tub on one of these on our YouTube channel. You got to go check that video out. Yeah. Like a 2,000-pound hot tub, which was fun. I've had these in below 0 degrees camping in them, and they are actually really superb. But this is their new model. They have 2 new models. This one is the X145, and then next to it is the 195. And essentially they've just made them way more off-road capable. They've taken a lot of the Australian design, actually. So when we actually met up with these guys on this old design, they actually did use a solid axle, and we said, hey, you're doing a lot of cool things, but it's still not as off-road capable as what we see coming from Australia or even the imports. And so we said, like, essentially, like, you got to make it more like an Australian trailer, but here in America. And that's what they've done. You know, the owner sourced all the suspension from Australia, Cruise Master, and this thing is, you'll see the full tour. They're beautiful trailers. I
can tell you're excited to show me this
I really
one.
Love them. And another thing with the suspension is articulating hitches. And I always say, if you don't have an articulating hitch, it's not an off-road trailer. Because the worst thing you can do is when you're going into a wash, if you're on a ball, you're gonna get caught up, right? And potentially it could pop off the ball. With this, you're able to articulate, right? Your truck could be up on a wall right there, and in every direction you're articulating, which is what you want. Is because if your trailer's on camber going in one direction, the truck's going in another direction, that's what you
Something's
want.
gonna give.
Yeah. If you have a standard ball hitch, you're gonna twist and torque the trailer too much, right? And I've experienced this a lot over the years of just driving a big motorhome into a gas station. Sometimes when I go up onto the cement pad, right, and half the trailer's off and on, the whole trailer's kind of twisted, and I can't open the door sometimes, right? It gets all out of whack. So with this, you're not going to have those issues, because this is what's going to be turning and moving, you know, while you're going off-roading, or the suspension too. But this is the larger. This is the big brother. This one's about 26 feet end to end. We'll get more into that. insulation properties on these are just superb. So whether you're going to 40 below zero or over 100 degrees in Texas, right, these trailers on the market are going to be one of the best for that.
And you can just tell by looking in the window right here how thick these walls are.
Yeah, they're just about 3 inches thick.
Yeah, which
it's a composite material too, so
that's cool.
No aluminum structure, so you have no thermal bridging, hot or cold. It's all composites, which is kind of the way of the future, in my opinion. I think more and more manufacturers are going to go to a composite material.
Now, next to us, I have some familiarity with these because I think I'm the first YouTube channel that actually revealed this product. And I think I told you about this product. Then you told me, yeah, you're actually going to get some. So,
yes,
Palomino Paws.
Yeah, absolutely. This is equally as exciting as Imperial Outdoors because this is an American company as well.
Not just an American company, but a very large. It's a volume American company. Palomino. Yes. They're not a small mom and pop shop. No, they are
owned by Forest River. Yep. You know, which is $5 billion company, which you know could lead to potentially a really good thing for the industry, you know, because they have the ability to push some change. Also, if they get too focused on volume, it could also lead to something bad, yes, right? Not absolutely. Making the quality. So we're from what I've experienced so far, it's been nothing but good. And I do want to make one disclaimer really quickly. We don't sell these here in Utah. These are out here for marketing and video purposes only, for you and for us.
Great.
Our South Carolina dealership actually is the one that carries these. So if you want to see them in person, you got to go to our South Carolina dealership, or go to Palomino and look up their dealer network, because they have a dealer in Utah already.
And then when we get to this unit in our video tour, what I really want you to do for me is explain what you love about it, as well as the things that you find different, possibly some criticism between the brands that you have been carrying and what they're doing right, and maybe some misses. Because
I think that's a good idea.
It'd be interesting to kind of see what you feel, you know, this product is capable of, just based off of what you've seen so far.
For sure.
Yep. And then you got another one next to it.
Yeah, so this is the XC20.2 and this is the XC20.3, and we'll get into those full tours. And yeah, I'm really excited about the brand as a whole. And the last, we saved it for
and I'm not 100% sure I want to show this in this video, because this is kind of the main reason I came out here, so we could see this really awesome US manufactured RV that I'm going to say, I don't think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't want to say it's better than everything out here, but it sure as heck puts a hurting on them.
Oh yeah, and it's exclusive to us. So it is actually manufactured by Imperial Outdoors, which makes the green one we were standing by, but it's exclusive to ROA, and it is the all-new Roamer 1.
We're not going to get too close to it. This is a tease. I want to show this thing. We will do a full video walkthrough on this unit. You'll see everything this is about, all the pros. Maybe we'll even find a few cons.
We'll find some cons, don't worry.
But man, this thing is super cool. Anyways, guys, I am going to be out here for the next few days, shooting and scooting and trying to make sure that we get you as much information on these units as possible. So if you are looking for, I'm not going to say an off-road inspired RV. There's tons of off-road inspired RVs, right? You can get a mini Winnie, or you can buy like some Jayco products that they'll put some
big tires,
faux rock sliders on the side, and big Westlake tires on them, and a torsion suspension.
Or they flip the axles.
Or they flip the axles. But the reality is those are off-road inspired. It's kind of like looking at a pickup truck that says 4x4 but has no discernible like features that make it a true off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
The RVs that you have here at your experience center are true off-road tested and capable RVs.
Oh,
would you hesitate to take any of these out to Moab? Maybe a couple of them?
Maybe the Texans.
Maybe the Texans?
We've taken them out there, but they definitely struggle more than the rest of them.
But that's just pure honesty. But the reality is, most people aren't going to go to Moab. I mean, with their RVs. A lot of people may.
True.
But like I mentioned when I was towing a previous RV that was off-road built, even if you're just going to keep these things on the highway,
oh yeah,
they're just going to perform well.
Well, yeah, and it's the solid axles that just rattle the trailer so much, right? And that's when the screws and the bolts all come out and it starts falling apart. So it's like what you were saying. you know, you can get a 2500 Ram that says 4x4 on it, or you can get a Power Wagon that's actually upgraded suspension with lockers and sway bar disconnects, or a Jeep, right? So it is, these are really more like Jeeps, you know, like trailer Jeeps. And they're not just saying we're an off-road where we're putting big tires on it
and a sticker.
Off-road, and a sticker. Exactly.
Well, Shane, I'm super excited to kick this off. We're gonna tour each one individually, check out all the different things. We're gonna try to find a few things we don't even like about them, and just make sure we're giving you an honest evaluation of what these things are, as well as what you've used them for, what they excel in, what they maybe struggle in, and like Taxa, right? It's not as off-road capable as some of these, but it's certainly not going to be as limited as most of the RVs you go to dealerships to buy.
For sure.
Shane, I really appreciate it. Super excited. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We will talk to you again very soon.